Asger Folmann is our first guest on the show. He's a crypto investor, influencer. He has a huge following, 50K subscribers, and he does the Folmann Report biweekly crypto investment newsletter. So you guys should check that out. And he also runs a YouTube channel called InItForTheMoney. So we're very happy to have Asger with us. Asger, are you on board?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great. How are things going today?
Well, as I like to say, to the great noise of the people Joe's, I'm not complaining.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about, your background. I know you're a crypto investor. You're definitely an influencer. I know you've done a little bit of acting. So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the Folmann Report.
Okay, so my background is pretty diverse. I actually initially thought I was going to be a high school teacher, so I grew up in Denmark, Scandinavia, and I took a master's degree in Danish Communications, and I realized, I think I need to build something on top of this, so I took an MS in psychology, and all of a sudden I found myself moving to the U.S. and being involved in acting, and I found myself, so I started investing in crypto, initially at a very small scale, but I realized that it takes a lot of time doing research on crypto investments, especially if you're relatively risk willing. You really need to do due diligence. So I realized all this research, all the hours I put into that, why not wrap that in a report? So I did, and it's basically, every 14 days I come out with what I call a long-term stable, a more safe bet. There is, of course, no real safe bets in crypto. And every 14 days I come out with what I call my dark horse, which is a more risky investment, but also, of course, the higher upside. So that's the basics of the Folmann Report, as I blatantly self-promoting call it.
Awesome. Hey, Asger, I've got a question here from one of our Telegram folks that
Sure.
wants to ask you. He's asking here, you did a video talking about crypto explosion in May time frame around the Consensus 2018. So he's, interested is, what your thoughts are currently about that, if you think that is still a possibility.
I think, I don't know if I even consider it a possibility. The fact is that the Consensus Conference is happening. And if you look at the attendees, you can look at these, there are, of course, these huge household brand companies, IBM and a lot of companies that people are familiar with, but there are also a lot of companies that I don't know from the top of my mind. But if you really dig into them, you realize that a huge part of these companies are actually investment companies in some shape or form, VC funds and that kind of stuff. And they come there for a reason. I'm sure they don't come to catch up with old friends and have a
right. Now, for our listeners that may not know, Consensus is one of the large cryptocurrency conferences that goes on every year. We have tens of thousands of attendees to the conference, and pretty much, it's the who's who of crypto. Is that right?
Yeah, that's an excellent way of putting it. Actually, I think this year they aim at over 4,000 people attending. So it's a huge deal, and you can even tell you can tell that it's top of the line, and that goes for the crypto companies, but it's also for the blockchain companies. Call them that, all the traditional companies. These aren't. It's the serious players showing up for this event. So
right.
And historically speaking, and that's of course why I assert that in the video of the asker of the question is referring to is, of course, that we've seen this explosion leading up to and during the New York Consensus in previous years, and also actually, and I'm putting all my money on this at least, but also in the period after the New York Consensus in mid-May.
Right.
I know we attend a lot of these conferences. And I know you're looking at it from a different perspective. You're looking at evaluating them, and making predictions about them from an investment. But I go and I look to see, who their teams are, what kind of technology they're using. Do they have a good use case for crypto and blockchain? And that's how Rewards finds a lot of our partners. So tell us a little bit about, your, I guess, viewpoint and what you do when you're evaluating a crypto company.
Yeah, so there's, of course, there's a lot of, very basic elements to it, but one of the things you kind of hinted to it already, if the company has a working product or service, that is, of course, always a good sign. And that, it might even be the most important one, because, just having an idea and looking to raise, say, $20 million or something like that, that's not necessarily, it's way more risky from an investor's point of view anyways. Now, but working on service, that's a good sign, but I also really look at the teams, and not only, the team, their competencies, what are their industries, but honestly also their networks, because networking does matter quite a lot in this sphere.
Right.
I love it when we see these star-speckled teams with all, people that used to work for Microsoft. I looked at one yesterday that they had a previous high-level exec from Boeing and Disney and all sorts of huge companies. Because one thing is, of course, the experience that comes with that territory, but the real value might actually come from, the connections in those industries, especially if they're closely tied to the industry that the new company is in. But that being said, and this is where it gets where we go a little bit into psychology. I really also always like to take a look at myself, take a step back and take a look at myself, because even though I consider myself a rational human being, I still have beliefs and emotions and convictions and political views and ideology, but none of that really has anything to do with crypto. So just, and I know that's not really what we're talking about, but it's really important the way I see it anyway.
I agree.
Because right. Because I'm the one evaluating it, and if I don't know the filter through which I'm looking at it, myself, in other words, my psychology, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. So
right.
That's also important.
Right. I think doing your research is very important to do on this. And, most good, companies out here that are trying to enter into the crypto market and enter into the blockchain market, do try to make themselves very public and put their information out there, try to explain who they are and, what they're doing. You have a YouTube channel also that you have. Where can I find that? How do I find that?
Well, you can go on YouTube and you can punch in InItForTheMoney. As easy as that.
That's easy.
And thanks for asking. That is pretty easy. I think at this point in time, I should be the top one that pops up.
Yep.
Of course.
You are.
There's a couple of bands with InItForTheMoney songs. One of them being my wife, but one of several of the others.
We're going to take a quick break and come back and finish talking with Asger Folmann after the break. One of the easiest ways to get information on crypto is to read the Folmann Report, and like Asger said, join the YouTube channel InItForTheMoney. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to CEO Money. This is Crypto Week with your host Linda Butcher and Todd Rowan. Today's show is sponsored by Rewards.com and RewardsToken.io. And as I promised everybody, we're going to give out a little contest here for 500 rewards tokens. The secret word today is going to be crypto. And if you go to RewardsToken.io and enter that into your token dashboard, you can receive 500 rewards tokens for the day. So we are still online here with Asger from InItForTheMoney. So Asger, one of the things I'd like to know, and I think some of our listeners would also like to know, is what is it about blockchain technology that really gets you excited the most?
That's an excellent question, and it's something that people spend a great deal of time talking about. So I want to say two things about that. First of all, and I'm going to be blatantly honest here, it is the financial gains. This has been described as the Wild West, and I really truly believe it is. Over the last week, my portfolio value was up 54%. That would never happen
Wow.
in the traditional stock. I've had some pretty bad weeks before that, just for the record, But that is one thing, and I think we might as well just be honest about it, at least in the investment community. But the other aspect is decentralization, and this has become such a buzzword recently. Almost the meaning has been completely diluted at this point. But I do like the idea of decentralization, but maybe more politically. Let me just give an example, right? So does it really matter whether Airbnb charges a 2% service fee? I'm not sure if that's what they charge, but it's something in that range, right?
Right.
And does it really truly matter in the big perspective? I don't think it does. I mean, of course, would it be, it would be a nice thing if they didn't. But do we really need a decentralized version of Airbnb? I don't know that we do, if you know what I mean. So it wouldn't change the world in a significant manner. That being said, there are certain industries that might benefit more from decentralization than others. But the real power of decentralization and also like the real groundbreaking changes have yet to come, the way I see it.
Yeah, I don't know though, because I mean, if you think about CEOs and the executive team and board members in the traditional sense of how they run companies, it's literally how many ever people that is making the decisions for the company. And I think in this situation, when you decentralize that, then the community has a bigger say. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that, but I would also have to point out that that's often a good thing, but sometimes it's not a good thing. Sometimes the crowd, sometimes the community isn't as knowledgeable about how to successfully run a company or a movement even as a seasoned CEO.
Right. And I agree that, the blockchain technology is not an end-all be-all. Some people in the community think, it fits in every segment of business, solves everything, and it doesn't do that. No technology does. But I'm, very excited about it, and actually it's the decentralization component is what actually excites me about it. And I think there's some very good use cases, for that. From maintaining identity and consumer privacy, helping consumers have control of their information and how it's distributed. Those are things that we found with like what happened with Facebook here, losing all the consumer's personal profile information. And that's just information that doesn't need to be in the central hands. The consumers need more control of that, but the marketers still need to access it. And I think that's where some decentralization of those components can really come into play.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. There are actually many exciting aspects to blockchain technology, and you're right. Those are some of the mechanisms that can truly improve some pre-existing structures and systems. But I guess my point was also maybe with the first thing I said that what we're seeing right now is we use blockchain technology to improve upon pre-existing technologies. And that's good. That's, of course, the first step. But I'm looking forward to see when some new technologies arise that could never have existed without blockchain technology. There might be some early attempts at that at this stage, but we haven't really seen the huge push yet.
Right.
And also another thing, and I would love to hear your comments on that, the volatility problem, and that's because many of the companies launching on blockchain don't really need volatility. It's actually not in their interest with this extreme volatility once they hit the markets. But at the same time, that's what attracts the investors. So that's a very interesting, I'm not going to call it an issue, but a challenge that needs to be solved at some point.
Right. And so my view on that is I believe that volatility will stabilize over time as the economy and ecosystem evolves around each of the currencies that are in the market. But I also believe that volatility isn't necessarily bad for some particular programs. It's actually a very interesting aspect in our project with rewards. and your ability to earn your rewards from shopping at one of the retailers, and you get $5 in currency, but when you want to take it and redeem it for lunch, it could be worth $10, it could be worth $2, but you have this kind of volatility mechanism. But what's interesting about that is that the more popular the program is, you're actually reflecting true value of that rewards currency. So the more engagement that you get, the more consumers that come in, the more that's reflected in the actual value of the currency. And
I'm sorry.
And it creates a very interesting aspect from marketing and promoting the program as well.
The consumer side, which is normally not in.
And rewards and almost all rewards programs, one of the big buzzwords in the industry is gamification, and that is what rewards is about. So that volatility aspect plays well into that, and gives the marketers like us a lot of things to work with.
I absolutely agree with that, but it's really interesting how for some projects, I'm sorry I'm calling you a project, for some companies it's a major advantage with the volatility. I think that's part of the attraction, and I can see it working with rewards. But take, for instance, the real estate business, right?
Right.
Several companies are trying to put that on the blockchain as well. And I've even looked at a website where you could buy some nice house in Malibu for $5 million in Bitcoin, But once I get home from even looking at the place, signing the deal and doing the Bitcoin transfer, I might have lost several $100,000
right.
Yeah,
in value.
Right. When it moves that fast, I mean, I remember, there was days back in December, when the market was going crazy, that we're sitting around the office and, we just hit 10,000, and an hour later, it was 11,000. Another hour, it's 12,000. We're going, what is going on here? So it was real crazy. And then, I know we went, the other way, here, through the first part of this year, as we got into February and March. So there's a lot of interesting aspects to blockchain and where cryptocurrency fits in. So Asger, again, how do people follow you? What's the best way to get involved in your newsletter and watch your YouTube videos?
Honestly, just starting at YouTube, punch in it for the money. I should pop up right there. And all the info you need are below my videos. You can just take it from there.
Okay. And then what about getting into your newsletter?
Well, you can click the link below any one of my videos on YouTube.
Okay.
Or, of course, you can visit InItForTheMoney.org.
We definitely recommend checking out the Folmann Report.
Well, Asger, it was absolutely a pleasure having you on, and we'll be talking with you soon, and we'll be following you on YouTube. You're listening to In It for the Money. It's Crypto Week, and we'll be right back.